Hi, my name is Michael Adduci. I'm the oboe professor at Tennessee Tech, and this is the third in a series of 3 videos on how to start the oboe for the first time, some things to think about. So you may be starting, this is your first instrument, you may have played something like piano before, or you might be switching from a flute or a clarinet or a saxophone, which is very common. And I want to give you some guidance. So the first video was about putting the oboe together and taking care of it and how to hold it. Second video was about breathing and embouchure, and now we're going to talk about articulation, which is the last thing you should worry about. So when you're learning and you're doing all the exercises I explained in the previous video, don't use your tongue at all. Just slur everything. Now it's time to talk about how we're going to articulate. So the principle is you're going to use the tip of your tongue and you're going to articulate on the tip of the reed. It's not 100% accurate, but it's a good memory device. Tip of the tongue, tip of the reed. So what that means is we're not tonguing down here somewhere. We're not tonguing on the roof of the mouth. Okay, we're not anchor tonguing, so you're not pressing the bottom of your tongue into your jaw and then using some other part of your tongue. Other instruments do this. On the oboe, it's always tip to tip. Okay, but it's not truly tip to tip. So it's a spot, if I show you, it's a spot just behind the tip of my tongue, on top. Just a couple millimeters behind. And then I am tonguing on the tip of the reed, but I'm not going straight into it because my tongue is down here. Okay, so I am approaching the tip of the reed from below, but I am not tonguing on some other part of the reed. So it's, if this is my tongue, this is what's happening. Here's the reed in my mouth, and I'm articulating like this. You don't feel like you need to lunge with your whole tongue. We're just using the front. Your tongue is always low and forward in your mouth. If you're switching from clarinet, you are used to voicing with your tongue and moving things around. None of that happens on the oboe except in very extreme cases, so I want you to keep your tongue down and forward. Like you're sitting here right now watching me. That's what your tongue is doing when you're at rest. You've probably never thought about it, but that's where it needs to be when we're playing this instrument. So your first job is on the reed only. Play a steady note, and then I want you to start tonguing. If you can think about a syllable, it's like the word ta, 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 ta. And don't stop blowing while you are tonguing. Okay, so we're not going to play a new breath of air for every note. That's exhausting for the listener and for the player. So instead, think of it like this. I'm articulating with my tongue. I'm just briefly blocking the airflow through the reed so that I can have a clear distinction between two notes. But the air is still there, and when I take my tongue away, the reed vibrates right away. If you back off, ta, ta, then it's likely when you go to do your second note, it won't speak. It takes a certain amount of air pressure to keep the reed vibrating. So it's very important that you articulate on a column of air. Just tap out the notes. Don't have individual chunks of air for every note. Okay, so take your reed, pick a note on the reed, and just articulate. Okay, until you can do it without changing the pitch, without changing the volume. It's a quick motion. Don't linger on the reed. And it doesn't matter if I'm doing a gentle one or an accent. All articulations are quick. So I would work on just a very neutral, and then I would go faster. That's harder, and then faster. Okay, so your job is to practice that on the reed until you're really comfortable with the motion and the fact that you're not stopping your air while you play. Then try and change notes. You can play, at this point, you can play Mary Had a Little Lamb. And I would slur that first. And once you can do that cleanly, then it's time to put it in the oboe. So let's go back to B and just articulate. Faster. and then faster. Then we can try to change notes, and it's tricky because you have to line up the motion of your fingers with your tongue. So I would try something very simple like that for a while until you start diving into more complicated things. I wouldn't try and play scales yet. I would just play a few notes. In the last video we went B, A, G, F sharp, E, D. I would just use those notes only, and I would practice slurring first and then tonguing. And remember, 100%, the thing you want to concentrate on the most is connection. It's really easy for this instrument to sound choppy and really staccato and harsh all the time. So you want to connect everything unless the music specifically tells you not to. And staccato is a different topic that I would be glad to work with you on individually. I'm not going to try and do it in a general video like this. And I can remind you, contact me anytime if you're having trouble with the oboe. Okay, so that's very quick, but that's the basics behind articulation. So please don't tongue on the roof of your mouth. Don't tongue somewhere on the reed other than the tip of the tongue. Not back somewhere behind your tongue, not underneath your tongue. Tip of the tongue, just behind it, right? To the tip of the reed. And your tongue is not moving around in the mouth. It's low and forward. Once you start doing articulation, it's easy to forget about the other fundamentals. So remember to connect everything. Don't forget to practice your long tones. Play just on the reed only as well, and work on being able to hold things out for a long time without any changes in pitch, any changes in loudness. And then you'll be successful with whatever it is you try and do. The oboe is challenging at the beginning. The fundamentals can be tricky to acquire. Once you can do those, it's no harder than any other instrument. So it's really worth your time to put in energy on the basics before you try and switch to playing something that's a little harder. So I'll leave you with just a little bit of an Irish tune. One thing the oboe is really good for is playing long, beautiful melodies. So here we go. Okay, so I hope these have been helpful for you. Please reach out to me at any time if I can be of help to you in learning the oboe. I'm happy to help, and I wish you the very best of luck. Thanks for watching.